What if the truth isn't hidden? It's just ignored. Hey folks, it's Travis, host of the Tcarp channel and the Sasquatch Awareness Project. And I've got one question for you. Are you ready to challenge everything you thought you knew? Mark your calendars, guys. August 22nd and 23rd, Cave City, Kentucky. SpiracyCon is where truth seekers, survivalists, skeptics, and the curious converge. And I'll be there, representing both sides of what I do, the grounded reality of survival and the unexplained truth that won't stay buried. I'll be sharing real survival strategies, insights from cutting-edge stuff, and pulling back the veil on the truth about Sasquatch. Not the hype, not the hoax, the data, the encounters, and the legacy. My father left behind more than stories. He left behind the truth. Now it's my turn to carry it forward. This isn't just a conference, it's a call to awareness. Get your tickets, pack your questions, and come find the truth with me. SpiracyCon, August 22nd and 23rd, Cave City, Kentucky. What's going on? It's Tcarp. Alright, we're going to be reading Chapter 7. Chapter 7 out of the book, The Truth Denied, the Sasquatch DNA Study by my dad, Scott Carpenter. This is his rendition of what happened with the very controversial Sasquatch Genome Project. So stay with us. Chapter 7, we're reading A Like-Minded Conspiracy. Chapter 7, A Like-Minded Conspiracy. Between November 2010 and September of 2011, DNA samples continued to pour in for screening. They were cataloged, then sent for blind testing. Upon completion of analysis, the incoming data was formatted in preparation to be included in the upcoming scientific paper. During this period, Dr. Ketchum, along with key members of the team, did radio interviews. The goal of the interviews was to inform the research community on the progress of the study, including asking for more samples, with the goal of peer-reviewed paper being submitted. Only a limited amount of information could be divulged. The team was cognizant that this process would take time, and these interviews were an attempt to keep the submitters and the general public from becoming impatient with the process. On most occasions, either Adrian Erickson or David Pilates participated in these interviews with Dr. Ketchum. During this period, Substad divulged information he had obtained during the early days of the study. Substad created a blog, posting his findings from the initial 4 samples. Among the information he divulged was the preliminary finding that Bigfoot/Sasquatch was a human hybrid. This revelation would send a shockwave through the Bigfoot research community. It would also catch the attention of the mainstream scientific community. The Bigfoot research community is a diverse group consisting of many factions. At all times, at least 2 factions disagree over some facet of research. These disagreements can get extremely ugly, with wild accusations being flung in every direction. Many times, threats of violence were common, with the occasional threat of legal action not uncommon. It would be accurate to say that this community agrees on very little with each other, with each faction having its own different pet beliefs and theories. One of the major divisions in the Bigfoot research community that existed before Substad's human hybrid leak was the human versus the bipedal ape camps. The division was brought to the forefront by David Pilates, 2 books, The Hoopa Project and Tribal Bigfoot. David used renowned criminal sketch artist Harvey Pratt to draw eyewitness sketches of the Bigfoot. The expected ape-like appearance of the creature was not what witness after witness described. Instead, each sketch revealed human-like facial features. Most of the sketches favored the Native American heritage with an exaggerated brow, wide, thin mouth, and flat, wide nose. These human-looking sketches caused a major uproar. The old guard had claimed for years that Bigfoot was an unknown bipedal ape. The witness sketches showed the exact opposite. So a major rift formed. Soon, sides were chosen. These two sides became known as the bipedal ape versus the human factions. Many in the bipedal ape factions have written books establishing a reputation as an expert based on the belief that Bigfoot was a bipedal ape. Many in this group, along with professional reputations to protect, had a major financial investment in the bipedal ape theory. This is the backdrop for the Substad revelation that Bigfoot was a possible human hybrid. This division was the catalyst for what I call a like-minded conspiracy. There was not a secret smoke-filled backroom meeting of the principals. There was, however, a cooperative effort between diverse groups that are usually at odds with each other. Each group has a different motive. However, the goal is the same: to discredit, to suppress, to destroy the Sasquatch Genome Project by any means possible. The following is a breakdown of the groups involved to include what I think were the motives. The bipedal ape believers group. These people were emotionally invested in Bigfoot being a bipedal ape. It was a part of their worldview. This group suffered true cognitive dissonance. They could not intellectually acknowledge nor accept that Bigfoot was a human hybrid. Any evidence that substantiated this had to be destroyed. The bipedal ape financial group. This group was financially invested in Bigfoot being a bipedal ape. This group could also be classified as the professional reputation group. The people in this group had built their careers around the assertion that Bigfoot was a bipedal ape. Books, movies, TV shows, blogs, along with these lucrative speaking fees, were in jeopardy if Bigfoot was proven to be a human hybrid. This group consisted mostly of the old guard of Bigfoot researchers who had built their credibility and reputations on Bigfoot being a bipedal ape. This group also consisted of high-profile scientists, many of whom were making a good living writing books along with collecting conference speaking fees. Many in this group knew from the current scientific evidence that Bigfoot was most likely a human hybrid. However, the truth was not a concern of this group. The protection of their income source, to include protecting professional reputations, was the motive enough to destroy the Sasquatch genome study. Protect the theory of evolution group. This group consisted largely of mainstream scientists, scientific publications, and blogs. The theory of evolution is in its final days. Advances in microbiology, along with other scientific disciplines, are dismantling the theory of evolution. Scientists know this, but this is all they have in the battle with the intelligent design movement. The renowned neo-Darwinist Richard Dawkins actually admitted on camera, the special expelled, that, quote, "I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you looked at details of biochemistry, molecular biology, you might find a signature of some sort of designer, and that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe." In other words, human life was seeded on this planet and or our genome designed by extraterrestrial entities. This new theory is now gaining acceptance amongst the Darwinists to replace the dying theory of evolution. It is officially known as panspermia. Until this new theory is accepted universally, the theory of evolution must be protected at all cost. A study providing scientific proof that Bigfoot was a human hybrid could be a final nail in the coffin of evolution. Since this was not acceptable, this group also had to ensure that the Sasquatch Genome Project was destroyed. Financially invested in Bigfoot remaining undiscovered group. This group consisted of those people that made a living off of searching for Bigfoot. This includes TV shows, excursions, authors, and bloggers. If the Bigfoot mystery is solved, proven to be a human hybrid, then the mystique, the romanticizing of this elusive creature could no longer exist. Scientifically proving that Bigfoot or Sasquatch existed would effectively put these people out of business. Federal and local governments. The state and federal parks generate hundreds of millions of dollars, along with providing thousands of jobs for the areas adjacent to the parks. The proven existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch could definitely cause a reduction in visitors. Our research has shown that the National Park Service has been aware of the existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch since at least the 1940s. They have an unwritten rule that any Bigfoot report is politely taken, then disposed of immediately. The motive mentioned above is the loss of revenue, along with the possible effects on the local communities surrounding the parks. Some team members noticed an electronic intrusion in our email accounts. Each of us received warnings from our respective email providers, Yahoo, Google, Gmail, whatever, that our accounts had been compromised. Our email providers suggested we should change our passwords immediately. This happened on the exact same day. Can I say with 100% certainty that this was perpetrated by a snooping government agency? No. But the timing, combined with different email providers, was extremely suspicious. Some team members also suspected electronic phone monitoring. We also noticed possible paid shill activity starting shortly before and continuing for at least a year or more after the study was published. This is hard to prove, but I definitely noticed that anytime I published a video on YouTube or had a discussion or debate concerning the study on Facebook, commenters would immediately show up, posting almost the exact same negative comments. Accusations along with the key words were almost exactly the same. Checking the profiles of these commenters revealed that they were recently added, had little to no pictures, and minimal activity. Again, hard to prove conclusively, but extremely suspicious. These diverse groups soon mobilized into an extremely effective opposition movement. Their tactics became what can only be described as ruthless. The process was simple but highly effective in spreading misinformation, rumors, lies, along with literally any damaging information that could be found. For example, Robert Lindsay would post a rumor on his blog, claiming it came from inside the Sasquatch Genome Study. Other Bigfoot and cryptid community bloggers would then reference his story. However, they would headline their posts with sensational lies or half-truths. This, in turn, would be picked up by more mainstream bloggers who monitor or have friends that run these cryptid blogs. These mainstream bloggers would then repeat the lie. The opposition groups also began to look deep into the background of Dr. Ketchum. Anything they found that could be twisted or construed in a negative way was seized upon, embellished, then demanded to be published in the above described manner. Remember, this opposition was all brought about by Richard Substad's release of the early findings of the Sasquatch genome study. Findings that he was involved in, agreed with, and supported. Substad posted this on the now discontinued website in June of 2011. Quote, the resulting outcome of the DNA testing of mtDNA was extremely unexpected because, hold your hat, both samples test 100% Homo sapiens or humans, not a new hominin as the most serious and credible Sasquatch researchers had long since surmised. By the way, as opposed to popular public and scientific sentiment, there really are some folks out there working on this mystery. However, having said this, it must be kept in mind that mtDNA tests only reveal a tentative clue about the ancient mitochondrial maternal/female origins of the particular creature or hominin. If the paternal male origins determined through analysis of the nuclear DNA are also 100% human, then the results should also reveal 100% human DNA sequencing. Since the nuclear DNA, part of the species or sub-specific equation of these two samples, is still unknown, we must qualify the following conclusions since we know very little about whether the creature called Sasquatch, assuming here for the sake of argument that Sasquatch truly exists as a living, extinct hominin of some kind, is 100% human, or conversely a so-called hybrid species that is reproductively viable or non-sterile. While it is unusual for the male and female origins of a particular species to be different from one another, it is certainly not unheard of. In all likelihood, such anomalies have occurred numerous times over the past million years or more. In fact, these two samples could either end up proving the existence of a reproductively viable hybrid hominid species, or the DNA results may end up indicating that Sasquatch is 100% human, Stone Age or ancient, race or tribe, or even possibly a much more modern feral human. The source of this is the discontinued footprintsinyourmind.com. The Sasquatch Genome Project was a collaborative effort. The groups that opposed the study created the false narrative that this was the Ketchum DNA study. This then allowed the opposition to focus on Dr. Ketchum, and if they could destroy her reputation, discrediting her, then they could discredit the study. It was vital that they foster the lie that only Dr. Ketchum was involved in the Sasquatch Genome Project. It is much easier to destroy one person's character than a larger group. It is easy to argue one person is morally corrupt and inept, but also impossible to argue a group of the scientists is the same. It is important for the reader to understand the facts. There were at least 12 people on the scientific study team, 6 of which have doctorates in their specialty. After the initial findings in the early stages of the study, all the samples were sent to outside laboratories for DNA testing. 12 independent laboratories were used for blind and double-blind testing. The samples or performing the confirmation analysis. The mere mention of the subject was and still is a career killer. This is especially true in the scientific community. When the Sasquatch Genome Project team was being assembled, Ketchum agreed to keep the identity of those scientists working on the project confidential until the paper was published. She was the first author of the study, so when it was published and the co-authors were attacked, she took the heat so they wouldn't lose their jobs and reputations. The study would be submitted for peer review in September 2011. The opposition groups would continue their campaign of lies, personal destruction, and misinformation during the entire process, approximately mid-year of 2011 through and beyond the release of the study in 2013. The team had completed what I call the first draft of the study by July of 2011. David Pilates arranged an important meeting in Las Vegas, Nevada. The purpose of the meeting was to show the findings of the study to George Knapp, an award-winning influential reporter and journalist, along with Dr. Colm Kelleher, a highly respected scientist. Knapp and Kelleher collaborated on the book Hunt for the Skinwalker. This book featured the well-funded scientific research of paranormal phenomena on a remote ranch in Utah. After signing an NDA, Dr. Ketchum showed the results of the study to Knapp and Kelleher. Dr. Kelleher gave Dr. Ketchum his opinion on the study, along with some interesting advice. George Knapp wrote an article in December of 2012 concerning the Sasquatch genome study. In this article, he recounted an interesting exchange that happened during the meeting between Dr. Ketchum and Dr. Kelleher. Quote, "The well-meaning Dr. Ketchum naively assumed that the world of science would welcome her data with open arms and open minds. Her initial draft of a scientific paper unwisely referred to the existence of a Bigfoot-like creature, and she was certain the information from her study would receive a fair hearing from the scientific world. My friend, the microbiologist Dr. Colm Kelleher, gave her the sad but true news that no mainstream science journal in the world would ever publish a paper or allow for an honest peer review of any paper that would mention Bigfoot or Sasquatch by name. Unlike my TV prediction, that one proved prescient in the extreme." The language used to describe the intentions of the groups opposing the Sasquatch genome study may appear to be harsh, possibly exaggerated. Later in the same article, Knapp corroborates my earlier descriptions, dispelling any doubt of the accuracy of my portrayals of the attacks. Quote, "In the ensuing years, there have been numerous attempts to sabotage and backstab Ketchum's project. Leaks appeared in online scientific forums in an apparent attempt to torpedo her credibility, even before the study's findings were made public. The Bigfoot community has been even more vicious, mostly because so many of the true believers have staked out their own turf and do not want to see a scientific interloper like Ketchum upstage their often ridiculous assertions or to undercut the interest in the 800 or so cable TV shows about the search for Bigfoot. Those people who do not want the study to be true and don't want to wait for the results to be verified have teed off on Ketchum, have carved up her study, and have made it almost impossible for anyone to take the results seriously, even though not one of the critics have seen the actual data." End quote. In the coming months, just as described above by Knapp, the study would come under unprecedented attack. It was extremely frustrating to be unable to defend against these attacks. With confidentiality a paramount concern for the upcoming peer review submission, no one inside the study was able to comment nor defend the study. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Please like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and come and see me again, Cave City, Kentucky, August 22nd and 23rd for Spiracy Con. We'll have tons of people there. Again, love you guys. Appreciate you. Y'all be good. This is Tcarp signing out.